Much for staying with us on your ultimate news and current affairs program on television this morning on ITV Thursday morning edition. Well, scarcity of petrol and scarcity of Naira notes. These are some of the things that Nigerians are being faced with daily just for survival. I have two guests with me in the studio, and together we'll be looking at the way out of this scarcity. From my immediate left is Dr. Paul Igarabe. He's what happened? Okay, Dr. Paul Igarabe, he's international business analyst, and he's joining us live here in the studio in Benin City. Welcome, Dr. Paul.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, from my extreme left is the Ipman chairman of those states. He's in person of Alhaji Abdul Mumuni. Did I get that?
No, Abdul Hamid Baba Salih.
Abdul Hamid Baba. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now it's obvious you came with enough petrol, enough fuel to the studio this morning. Okay, let's start with Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul, looking at the Naira note swap, the deadline is less than 24 hours, although as at yesterday, there's a court ruling that there should be an extension. What's your take?
Well, again, thanks for the invitation to the studio, be a part of this discussion. I just think that we are now focusing on what is really important. The issue here is the availability of the funds. And it's not really, I don't see it as being an issue with the deadline. So I can speak for myself and my family and many people that I know. We're able to meet the first deadline, and that ought not to be a problem now, even with 10 more days extension. I think the problem is the money not being accessible, and that's where the focus ought to be, and that's what we ought to be discussing and finding a resolution to sort of ameliorate the challenges that everyone is facing at this point, not being able to access funds from any financial institution.
Okay, Alhaji Abdul, looking at the scarcity of fuel and looking at the unavailability of Naira, how are these, how are the marketers surviving this point, this critical point?
Well, it's not really easy because there are two important things, very, very important. The Naira notes and the fuel issue. So I think the government need to do something very serious. Like in terms of fuel, they are trying to make it available now. Like our president had a meeting with the managing director of NNPC. They've assured us, and for the past few days now, supply has been regular. You can see more stations having the product, and the prices are crashing.
Okay, now let's now look at the high demand in the new Naira notes, Dr. Paul. There's a high demand. POS operators are making it very big this season. In fact, there's a high cost they attach to charge fee just to get your transaction done. Do you think it's going to affect the 2023 election?
Well, in some degree it will, because if you don't have money to buy fuel and the fuel not available, then how do you transport yourself, to a polling unit? Someone that's already struggling with just meeting basic needs, I don't think paying for transportation to a polling unit would probably be something of priority. So in that sense, it could be impactful. And so these are some of the considerations that the government ought to be thinking about, when they roll out some of these changes, or when people are faced with scarcity of fuel, the inavailability of constant lights. And so it's almost a community of lack, and which not ought to be. But the money problem should never be a problem at all. And so I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. So how did we even get to a point where you can go to the bank and not be able to withdraw money? not something even close to what the regulation says will be made available to individuals and made available to businesses. Now, I've been to the bank and I'm told where you can only withdraw 2,000 Naira. So that's ridiculous.
For a transaction?
Yes, and you know, what can you buy with 2,000 Naira? Okay, so yes, it can impact the election in that regard.
Okay, Alhaji, let's now look at how come independent marketers are selling more than the pump price of 195? How come? As the chairman of IPMAN, do you have any answer to that?
Well, even as of today, the price is not 195 again.
Okay.
Government have made it 205.
So from 185 to 195 to 205.
The official price now is 205. And you know, Nigerian market, or market generally in the whole world, has to do with availability. When it is scarce, automatically the price will escalate. And when it is surplus, it comes down. And you see, there are a lot of things some of these major marketers are enjoying from the hands of NNPC that we are not enjoying. Like major marketers, they get these products at credit to pay later, their supply in bulk. We will pay before we get. The best condition that has been given to us now is that we will pay and get the product within 21 days.
So major marketers get a better deal?
They get, yes, from NNPC. It is not like that. Now, they've just assured us now that if we make payment, we get this product within 21 days. And, you know, we are trading on bad money that we pay before you get it is another thing. So in most cases, we have no choice than to buy from the private depots. And if we are buying from the private depots, they give us the prices they like. You can imagine a private depot can be selling the station for 205. And we go there to buy, they'll give us at 290, 300, depends on the availability.
Just by the fact that you are colleagues in the business?
Yes. As I'm even talking to you, there are marketers that paid for this product since December. The private farm owners refuse to give them the product. So when you don't get it, how do you sell? And by the time they delay your money and they sell for you at a high price, you have no choice than to sell to recoup your money and make little profit.
Okay, Dr. Paul, you're going to help us now. Now, looking at the unavailability of petrol, and he talked about they need money from the bank to procure this substance.
Right.
What is the economic effect of this scarcity?
Well, in fact, it's a snowball effect. Now, if the marketers are having trouble accessing their funds, and of course, they are even having trouble accessing a product that may have been paid for at an earlier arranged time, probably at a market rate then, and now they're getting it at a time where the costs have been inflated. So that invariably will affect their margin. And when that happens, the impact is felt by common people like you and I, who now have to pay exorbitant prices,
Absolutely.
you know, for this product, which is ridiculous. Now, I have been to a fuel station where we had to pay was almost 600 a liter. You know, we're almost
recently, but he said the pump price has gone down.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this was just a week ago. I mean, he's probably speaking of, you know, something just happening within the last few days, right? Yeah, I mean, this is a week ago, and so we had no choice. We're almost at an E on the road, and this is what was available, and that was the price. Okay. So you can imagine for someone who has a fixed income having to incur such inflated cost of just daily existence. The impact, you know, snowballs into everything. So, you know, what I can afford to buy, previously I've been able to buy it now.
Absolutely.
So the purchasing power parity, you know, is immediately affected. And then the businessman, small businessman, of course, you know, have to pass on this cost. And it's just snowballing.
Okay, Alhaji, thank God you're here. Yeah. We saw a circular making round like a memo all right, it was everywhere on the social media, though we are yet to independently verify that, that very soon independent marketers will stop selling, that you're going to shut down your petrol stations till further notice. Is that true?
Yes, but our president have gone to sort it out with the managing director of NNPC Retail.
Okay.
He has given us some assurance that the tickets we paid for quite some time, the ticket we have for, that we paid for quite some time will be loaded in a short while. About 120 million liters have been set aside to clear all those ones, and they've given us some assurance that any payment will not be more than 21 days before we get the product. So after all this discussion, the president, in his wisdom, has decided to put the strike on hold.
Okay, so how has business been so far for you people? How has business been so far?
As a matter of fact, it's not easy. In Benin Depot, you have over 500 marketers.
Over 500 marketers.
And I can assure you that not up to 20 marketers can raise money for a trailer load of petrol.
Wow.
It's tough. Because in most cases, because of the little bottleneck, we cannot really access the NNPC. Most of us cannot access the NNPC. We end up buying, most of our members buy from private depot. You see about 3-4 marketers pairing to get a truck so that they take compartments. And that you can pay no assurance, like some marketers paid since December. The private depots refuse to even give to them. So because of that, even the banks are not comfortable with us giving us money. So if they don't give you, you now go to finance houses that their rates are higher, or you look for money lender, or you must be in business. And the high cost of diesel, you see, there are a lot of things people are not considering. High cost of diesel has made it difficult for you to even get the product in your fuel station. Normally, from Benin, from Ogara or Wari to Benin would have been around 200, 250. But it's between 400, 500 now because of diesel and other.
The price is like out of this world.
So it's not at a time. Marketers says, we had a meeting and they wanted to actually stop sales till the situation is favorable.
So the circular we saw making round was correct?
That circular was actually from Meduguri, Meduguri depot, not from any other depot.
Okay.
But at the time, our president threatened that we're going to down tools, but not on that circular. But for the meeting president had with NNPC Retail Managing Director, everything has been put on hold. They've said, let's see how we can cope to.
All right, Dr. Paul, do you think Nigerians are ready for this CBN policy? Are you sure Nigerians are ready for this policy?
Well,
is it too sudden for us as a nation?
Well, I think we have moved past that. We have moved past that stage of readiness, because it was 4 or 5 months ago that this was disclosed to the world, that the swap will be taking place. Of course, the reasons adduced for doing so were sound reasons. In fact, you know, in the long run, it's going to strengthen the Nigerian economy. So from that perspective, I think it's a policy initiative that everyone should really embrace. It is here. Again, I keep going back to where the challenges lie. The challenges is not with the policy itself. The challenges is with the failure in the system. Because in organization management change process, all of these things should have already been, you know, played out, planned out, and even have a test scenario of what the possible impact could be, the least person in a society, how is that person going to be affected. All this would have been done in the policy formulation process, so that, you know, you are better prepared at interventions where it is necessary. Now, those are my challenges, and I'm saying, who was the person behind this wheel? Who designed this policy? Who's in charge of implementation? Who is making sure that everything is rolled out the way it's supposed to be, so that every Nigerian is really not adversely affected? Because at this point, we know what we are feeling. Now, why should anybody have to buy cash? I keep asking myself that, so I've refused. Why should I buy cash? I'm struggling to buy petrol, so I have to go buy cash so I can buy food. Everything's inflated. So the food prices is inflated because, unfortunately, the prices of the pump have been inflated, which is not the
absolutely anything that affects the pump price affects
everything. It affects my ability to be able to pay a reasonable and fair price to get transported from point A to point B. So the person in the market who's buying these products also have to pay high transportation costs. So the person who's producing also have to now make adjustment for the high transportation costs that is just incurred. So everything is passed down, and we also.
Okay, Alhaji, there was one time a presidential candidate said that the scarcity of fuel and the scarcity of Naira notes is politically motivated to affect his victory in the poll. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So it's something that happens naturally.
I don't think so. You see, the problem with petrol has to do, to make it available. Government has struggled to bring it, to be honest. To make it available would have been deregulation. That is the truth about it. Then, from the analysis of my brother, the cash, this thing is a good thing. But two of them coming at the same time is a coincidence. So I don't think, at least the government in power are APC, so I don't think they will make it difficult for anybody.
All right, well, if you're just tuning in, this is This Morning on ITV, Thursday morning edition. We are big privileged to be joined by Alhaji Abdul Hamid Baba Salih. He's the IPMAN chairman at those states chapter. And of course, we have a global business analyst, Dr. Paul Egarabe. He's been doing well on the show and giving us way out of some of these issues that has been burning in the hearts of Nigerians. You can be part of the conversation, 080777703 and 00. That's the number. It will be displayed on your screen right now. You can also download the ITV mobile app on your device. Just download it from Google Play Store. Download it on your device. And of course, ensure to follow us on Facebook. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and of course on TikTok at ITV Radio NG. Just ensure you're part of the conversation. The number again to call will be displayed on your screen so that you can share your thoughts on the program. But however, we'll quickly take a short break now. And when we're back, we'll exchange the front line of this discussion. Don't go nowhere.
TMI, every opinion counts.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's quickly go straight and continue where we stopped at the discussion level. Now, I want to ask Dr. Alhaji Abdul to think that we lift fuel from Ogara to Abuja, and Abuja sells at 195. And Benin to Ogara is not far. You were just saying that from here to Ogara, back then should be about 300, 200. So let's just say it's about 500 naira now. So how come that Benin that is very close, the proximity from Benin to Ogara is closer than the proximity from Ogara to Abuja? How come in Abuja they are selling at 195, and here in Benin you hardly see fuel stations selling at that price? What's the disparity?
Like as I told you, any product going to Abuja is an NPC product.
Okay.
Most of we marketers, we buy from private depots. You see, there is what they call PDO. When NPC will offload, pay the tax farm the cost of hiring the tax farm. The product still belongs to NPC.
Okay.
When the private depot buy to sell, the product now becomes the depot property. So these are the two products. Any product going to Abuja is PDO, is as good as product you load from Warri depot. It's as good as product you load from Benin depot. And any product going to Abuja, there is what they call Petroleum Equalization Fund. Every person, depends on the distance, is entitled for it. But you have to have money to do the business, to register, even to claim this PEF. Marketer that is looking for money to buy one compartment, how will he be able to do registration to be able?
So is there a preferential treatment for people staying at the federal capital?
Not really, but there is. Federal capital is the federal capital, and they give priority to stations within the federal capital.
Okay.
They give priority to stations in Lagos,
Okay.
because that is a commercial city. They give priorities to stations in Port Harcourt, but they consider everywhere.
Okay.
But topmost priorities to those ones.
So Abuja and Lagos.
Yes. So that is why those people, they get more. And at least before you build a station in Abuja, you must have enough money to being able to get all these requirements that Petroleum Equalization Fund will pay you some money to as transportation.
Okay.
You understand? So because of that, they get it more, their turnover is higher, and because of that, they are able to sell at a better price.
And the sweet part of business is the turnover.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Paul, looking at the sudden swap in the Naira notes, do you think it will eradicate vote buying in the forthcoming election?
Well, I'm not really sure if there's any data available on vote buying. So speaking to that would be something that I can tell you I may not be able to speak objectively about.
But in your opinion?
Well, you know, in my personal opinion, money influence campaign, because campaign is expensive. You have to pay for mobilization of your campaign teams. You got to pay for advertisement, and you know, in that perspective, yeah, if you don't have money to finance those expenses that relates to campaign, of course, it could impact. But as far as vote buying, I haven't had much experience about that, and no data to really be able to speak objectively.
Okay,
on that.
let's see. We have someone on the line. Let's hear from this caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Philip.
You must walk away from your television set, Philip.
Okay, sir. I've done that, sir.
All right, quickly go ahead and talk to us.
Yes, sir. Please, my question goes to Ipman and Chairman.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Please, I want to know where in Benin are they selling the 205 Naira per liter?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's my question, because I bought here yesterday 350 at the Scarcity road.
Okay.
That one police station at Chris Mary Junction.
Okay. Well, you've asked your question. Let's let you go so that Ipman Chairman will respond. He's asking which of the four stations sells for 205.
NNPC Mega, they're the major marketers. All of them are supposed to be selling at 204.
Okay, I don't know if you can just mention some of these major marketers for the sake of our viewers.
Total, Andover, that is AP. Mobile, any of their stations are supposed to sell 204.
Okay, we have someone else on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, morning.
Good morning. Please ensure you speak up. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Benjamin, calling from Abuja.
Okay, Benjamin from Abuja. Quickly talk to us.
My name is Benjamin, calling from Abuja, Nigeria.
Benjamin, we can hear you. Welcome to TMI.
Yeah, what I mean is that the issue of vote buying, this new, I think the issue of this issue of vote buying, the new Naira note cannot stop vote buying.
Okay,
You understand?
we are listening.
Because the level of poverty in this country now is too critical. It's unbearable.
Okay.
Because one, someone that don't have access to his money, even have money in their account, don't have access to it, and the day of election, a politician can come and give that person 1,000 or 2,000 naira to change their mind. So what do you expect?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Benjamin, all the way from Abuja. Now, Dr. Paul, some people felt that the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, is actually trying to take his pound of flesh because he actually lost out in the APC primaries. And that's why we're having this harsh policy. Do you agree in that thought? And of course, a senior citizen of this country said that he was misleading the president, that the CBN governor actually gave the president a wrong advice on the policy.
I don't believe that, but I can understand that the level of frustration in the community when you've sort of degraded to such a level, you are bound to have all kind of conspiracy theories, probably, you know, psychologically it might make you feel better, or maybe taking a pound of flesh on casting aspersion at the integrity of your perceived enemies. Right. So, but you know, looking from a business point of view, I believe that the reasons that were presented for the redesign of the currency were very sound economic reasons. It will help curtail inflation. There were some security concerns. It will help stimulate growth in the economy, and even, you know, help the purchasing power of our currency.
Okay.
So those are very sound policy initiatives.
Okay.
Now, the timing, you know, I don't know, probably also contributed to leading people to begin to think otherwise. You know, this has happened in many other countries, like, you know, El Salvador, Ecuador, and many African countries.
But looking at the timing, election is just around the corner. I do think the timing is appropriate.
Of course. I mean, just because election is around the corner does not mean that the economic activity stops. The CBN governor is in charge of really driving the economy. He's the person that makes sure that our economy is growing. He is the ones that make sure that there's stability in the market. He's the ones that is really charged with ensuring that our currency has an effective value against, you know, some of the currencies that would like to always, you know, talk about the dollars, the euro, the pounds, and all of those things. So the number one banker, you know, is supposed to be able to be the master plan.
That's the CBN governor?
Yes. Okay. You know, to make sure that all of these things is happening. Because I still remember, you know, a time where a dollar was 25 kobo. I was a student in the secondary school. I still remember that very clearly, right? So how do we get back to those days? This is not something that will happen in a vacuum or happen with somebody not really managing that process. Again, if there had not been a breakdown in the release of the funds, I don't think all these conspiracy theories would have emanated.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, now in Nigeria, whatever goes up doesn't come down, Alaji. Now looking at the price hike, is there a tendency that after this whole process, we are going to have the price come back to normal? Because to an extent, whatever goes up doesn't really come down in this country.
As a matter of fact, it has started going down.
Okay.
It has started going down. Petroleum products is an exception. Petroleum products in this country has always gone down before, gone up, and it will come down when it is available.
But when it comes down, prices of goods remain the same.
That is it.
Vehicle owners don't want to step down the price.
So you talk of vehicle owners and other
but not the product.
Not the product. The product has always gone up and comes down when it's available.
All right, let's see who's on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, glad to have you join us on TMI. We can hear you. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, I'm calling from Edo State.
All right, what's your name? All right, talk to us.
Okay. I'll talk on this Naira crisis with scarcity.
Go ahead.
I've been alive when Naira has been changed. But if they feel that they are supposed to be loading all the ATM with 100 Naira notes.
Okay.
You know? So I was in the bank yesterday morning from 7:30 before the bank now started. I went in Access Bank precisely.
Well, you must turn down the audio volume on your television set. Please turn down the audio volume on your television set, or better still, walk away from your TV set so that we can have a crystal clear conversation. Now, I have this question for Alhaji, and it says, with the constitution of the Edo State Petroleum Monitoring Committee that IPMAN is part of, now, do you think the committee will address the problem of petrol scarcity?
Yes.
How?
Fine. Well, let me start by commending the governor of Edo State for making IPMAN part of
The committee.
At least that will give an opportunity for IPMAN to see what the problems are. Government, it will now give opportunity to government to join us to see how it can be addressed. Because if we are not part of it, it will be difficult for them to know what the problems are, so that it can be addressed and the product will now be flowing.
Okay, Dr. Paul, considering the hardship Nigerians are facing recently, many have said that the implementation of the Naira note, the intention is politically motivated. That's the opinion of some persons.
Right.
Do you share in their thoughts?
No, I don't. In fact, everyone is entitled to their own opinion and perception. But of course, again, to the person, who feels that way, perception is a reality.
Okay.
That's just the natural order of things. But I personally do not believe that is politically motivated, in the sense that it is done targeting a particular group or a particular person or what have you. But the timing happened to be in one of the election period, so it's also quick to probably arrive at that conclusion. But again, I continue to go back to the lack of monies being available. It would not have been an issue at all. Like the caller also mentioned, there have been currency swap before, right? And so this is really not the first time, where money has,
So why are we not finding it difficult this period? What is making it hard this season?
Again, that is what people are not addressing. I'm surprised that instead of addressing that, people are looking for extension and going to the Supreme Court to extend the deadline for what? I mean, why are we looking for extension? We want to solve this problem. I want to be able to go to the bank and access my funds.
Okay.
In fact, complying with whatever restrictions that have been established. But the funds are not available. The bank are saying that the CBN has now released the money, but the information coming from the CBN is to the contrary. So who is the person responsible for resolving, this problem?
That's a big question that needs an answer.
That is where the attention and focus ought to be.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, are you there? Okay, we'll let you go. The number again is displayed on your screen, 080-7777-0300. That's the number. It's displayed on your screen right now. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello?
This is Christopher calling from Ugbo.
right, Christopher, you have to be spontaneous on the show. Quickly, go ahead and talk to us.
I think that the current situation of the Naira change is actually being done at a very wrong time, because from history we've come to see that during political periods where elections will be, this rough nature of things going wrong up and down. There are other times that this could have been done. We are facing fuel scarcity now for no reason. We are facing Naira change, which is something that should be done within 3 months. That's not the way it's done in other countries. Let's take statistics from other countries.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. I think in his opinion, he's not really in terms with the Naira swap. Let's see who's this person. Who's on the line? Hello, good morning. Okay, like I said, you must walk away from your television set. Now, Alhaji, let's come to you. How is this scarcity of Naira affecting scarcity of petrol? If we didn't have the scarcity of cash, are we supposed to have enough scarcity in fuel supply?
No, I don't think the scarcity of Naira is affecting
It's not.
the scarcity of petrol.
Okay.
Because most stations have POS. The only problem is the bank's network is terrible. If the network was good, it's okay. With it, you get your card and you can use it to buy petrol. But the networks are bad. Even some that are able to use the POS card, for you to even get the alert to confirm that yes, the money has entered your account is another
It's
thing.
difficult.
So I think the problem is more of the network to the petrol sellers.
And that now comes to Dr. Paul. Don't you think if we had put our technology in place, because I've been a victim of debit alerts.
Right.
I went to even get fuel from a filling station, and I was debited, but from their POS, it says declined.
Right.
I've gone to the bank. They are still processing it. They told me it's going to take 10 days.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't think if we put some of these things in place, it would have been easier for Nigerians.
In fact, you know, is you see the challenges, breakdown, and lapses in all of these processes that ought to be seamless. Now, just like your own experience, I can tell you, I was at an eatery where at some point I had to remind the manager that it was against the law to be held against my will, because that would constitute imprisonment. Yes, you know, because they
allow you to go home.
They were having issues with the payment, you know, registering in their system, and for that, you know, we're temporarily. But he did confirm that, no, you're not under imprisonment. I said, yeah. Whenever I cannot get up to leave, even if I decide I don't want to eat my food anymore, I'm just going to leave, I should be able to leave.
In Nigeria?
Right here, yes.
In Nigeria?
Yes. Well, but that is the law, right? that is the law, right? But they have problem with their system.
Okay.
It was down, and the payment.
And it wasn't your fault.
It wasn't my fault. We paid, but the payment had not come through, and we're just there. But you know, I didn't really push the issues that much. Thankfully, by the time we finished our meal and the payment went through, and there was a big smile across his face that, you know, he wanted to be friendly. I said, well, but I just want to remind you, please don't hold the people against their will. Shut the doors and say, my systems are now working temporarily out of order. So going back to what you said, you know, I see all the breakdown in the system. I see the lack of preparedness. You know, like you have to test the load capacity of any platform. See, you know, when I experienced that, I realized that, yeah, you want to have a seamless society, but you want to depend on this payment structure. The architecture has not been sufficiently tested to verify the load capacity that X number of people accessing at a given time. Would the sustainability still exist?
The network provider, be up top of the game.
Exactly. So this is where, like, you know, really tapping into the expertise, because there are people out there who can be of help in making sure that these systems are designed seamless. You know, it's happening in other countries. It's happening in other developing countries also.
Okay.
I mean, you go to Brazil, you go to you know, Ecuador, you go to, you know, some of these South American nations that are large, smaller than Nigeria. Things work seamlessly. You know, yeah, you have POS, but it may not go through. You know, when you visit, for instance, in Ecuador, you pull into a gas station, you don't need an attendant. You know, I come to the pump, I slot in my payment, ATM, credit card, or whatever you choose to use. You select the grade of the fuel, and you dispense, and replace the pump, and then your receipt is generated at the completion of the sale.
Okay.
It's seamless. So why, the question is, why is that not obtainable in Nigeria? Of course, it's not something that we can answer here, but that's where you need expertise.
Okay.
There are people that are able to really help.
Okay.
And we need to be focusing on those things. You know, like, yeah, before you roll out a cashless society, you ought to have had that architecture design, really with expertise of people who are familiar with such design.
Okay, let's come to Alhaji Baba now. Since sourcing petrol from Ogara or Delta is hectic, what are your people doing to achieve the Benin depot? We have a depot in Benin, and since it's being difficult getting fuel from Ogara, what's happening to the Benin depot?
Well, you know, Benin depot is government owned. At the time, we were made to understand that they have issue with binders to pump Benin depot. At the time, we spoke with them that we are ready to, we, Ipman, Nupen, that we are ready to partner with them. Because actually Benin is supposed to be a storage depot, a very big one, and where it will be easier for us to load. So we are still talking to them that we are ready to partner to make sure the pipelines are not vandalized. Especially now that they've given the contract to somebody. Maybe they might be thinking, and it is commercialized, NFS is commercialized. I'm sure they might be thinking of popping Benin to make it easy for us.
And how soon should Nigerians or Benin residents expect that to come into play?
That should be the question to the NNPC. Because I don't know how soon they are trying to facilitate it.
Okay, let's now come to Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul, in what aspect do you think the government can reduce the pain and the sufferings Nigerians are actually going through?
Is instantaneous intervention. You know, like at the very first sign of a breakdown in the system, there ought to have been an immediate reaction from government to ease the pain. Like I said, I started off in central bank, so I understand the inner workings of the central bank and how things are supposed to work. And I'm also...
You had an experience there.
I had an experience there, and I've been in different banking environment, you know, in the Western world also. So I know the standards, you know, and the model for operating in this environment. So what we are suffering is an indication that there's a breakdown in that process. So the government on its part ought to respond even before the first complaint from, you know, any one of us. Because in central bank, for instance, there's a monitoring arm, you know, so there's an enforcement arm that ought to go out to ensure that everything is followed the way it ought to be before a customer of a commercial bank is affected negatively. But from what we are seeing, it doesn't appear like that has been done, or the government is reacting quick enough to resolve these issues, because we still cannot access funds. So we have no petrol, we have no light, and we have no cash. So, and these are all pointing to the government, you know, in the areas where they ought to be more effective, and they are not. I'm not a politician, and so I can, you know, say that with all the objectivity that it is. So the government has failed at every level, and they continue to fail, and that is really sad.
Okay, recently, Alhaji Baba, the INEC chairman said that because of scarcity of fuel, they might not be able to reach out to some communities. But looking at the availability of petrol now, do you think that won't be possible again? The tendency of reaching some of this community, like he alleged, that because of the unavailability of petrol, that they might not be able to go around on election day. Elections, they might be postponed. So do you think, you said it's available now, and the prices have gone down?
I can assure you that with the supply chain, I'm saying, in less than a week or in another
before the election?
In another 1 week, I'm sure petrol will be everywhere because NNPC are really popping it out and marketers are loading.
Okay, well, we would have loved to attend to one or two calls again before we wrap up, but however, this is where we will be drawing the curtain for TMI Thursday morning edition. Okay, let's just quickly take your final take. All right, I have my production director say we can just take your final take. Dr. Paul, quickly, let's take your final take on the show.
Well, you know, again, I'll go back to the government playing their roles. There's enough case studies out there, you know, that you really can tap into. And I've seen many of our leaders, you know, being exposed to some of these environments, you know, outside of the country. Then I wonder, what is it that you learn to bring back here? When you come in and you just see lapses and breakdown, and it doesn't seem like anything has been, some of those things that they would have been exposed to or learned is been transferred. So there has to be a timely intervention. Any policy initiative that is implemented, you know, ought to be studied thoroughly. There ought to be various scenarios, you know, in the implementation process, because organization change process demands that we sort of play things out to make sure that it is effortlessly implemented.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Paul, for taking time. Alhaji Baba, thank you so much, and glad seeing you after so many calls trying to reach out to you. Well, we'll be taking a short break now, and TMI continue. Don't go nowhere.